Today's episode, you guys, is brought to you by Perfect Storm Real Estate Specific Software. It's the website I use in my business. I'm actually a partial owner within the company that's been able to give my input to help create a piece of software that is uber effective at lead generation in our real estate businesses. That website, www.perfectstormnow.com. Go check that out. It's amazing, epic front-end lead generation site that's extremely affordable for real estate agents out there. Also, today's episode is brought to you by our 90-day mastery bootcamp. If you're in the real estate industry, if you're wanting to take your business to the next level, this is a gnarly, crazy experience. We go through for 90 days straight. There's there is 13 total sessions that we go through. Each weekly session is about 2 to 3 hours long every single week. Plus, you have daily access to me going through the experience through the group. So to check out more about that program, we roll those out about every 90 days. We stagger them once in a while, but we do about 3 or 4 of those every single year. So if you want to spend the next 90 days with me, about 40 hours of just crazy epic content helping your business take it to the next level, go to www.90daymastery.com. That's our sales page. You can see testimonials, learn more about the product, and register and sign up right there. If you are signing up, make sure to use the promo code LiveMastery, all caps, all together, all one word, LiveMastery. It saves you $500. It makes that whole entire 90-day coaching experience only $997 for you guys. So, all right, let's jump on in. All right, what is up, my friends? Joshua Smith here with another Top Realtor interview. Every single week, we interview top real estate agents all over the planet that are doing big things in this world. So today, I've got a special guest on, you guys. This is a top real estate agent in New York. He's actually a top Wall Street Journal 250 agent, but also public speaker, coach, all around, just amazing entrepreneur. So really stoked, honored, and excited to have Patrick Lilley on the show today. Welcome to the show, my friend.
First of all, thanks for having me. Josh, where were you raised?
So it's kind of all over the place. I was born in California, lived in the Bay Area up until I was 14, and then moved to Michigan from 14 to through college, so high school and college.
That's it. Because when you said I'm stoked, I haven't heard that term since I was in college in Missouri. So I knew there was a Michigan, a Missouri connection there somehow.
Yep, love it, man. So you're a guy that's doing a lot of big things today. You're involved in a lot of different things. Like I said, speaking, coaching. You've got a top real estate team there in New York, and top real estate team in the country. But before we dive into what you're doing today, let's rewind the clocks, man. Let's take it back to you talked about going to college in Missouri. Like what led you into this path, into this journey into entrepreneurship?
Well, I certainly can't say it was intentional. Population are really clear about what they want to do with their lives, and they're very focused and they're very blessed, and God bless them, but most of us aren't that way. And most of us find our path through life through a wandering road that you'll have a stop here and a stop here, and then when you look back on it, you go, oh yeah, that's why I did that, because it was taking me down the road I was supposed to be taking down. So I originally came to New York to do my graduate work in clinical psychology. I went to school for a grand total of 2 weeks and dropped out of school because I wanted to play. I was in the big city, and I played really hard for several years. I bartended to pay for it, and then I went back and got my MBA, and I thought I was going to go into advertising, and the highest job offer I got with an MBA from NYU was $23,000 a year, and I was making, $75,000 a year bartending, which was cash, and I couldn't figure out a way that I could do that. So I sat down with I had a dear friend who was a manager at Bellmark Realty. Sat down with him for lunch one day, and I was complaining about, I don't want to bartend for the rest of my life, blah, blah, blah. So he says, come work for us. And I immediately turned up my nose and said, I have an MBA from NYU. I'm not selling apartments. And then he told me how much money he made the first year, and my nose went right back down. And 3 days later, I was working with him. What's interesting about that story is that I still was too hoity-toity, and for the first 12 years of my career, in real estate, I never really took it seriously. I just thought, this was a step until I do something that's more appropriate for my educational level. And I thought I'd probably go into commercial real estate. I actually gave it a try for 1 year, and wasn't very good at it, to be honest. And I thought I'd go into consulting, and after 12 years, finally, when I had a really good opportunity to meet with one of the premier consulting real estate firms in New York, they just weren't interested in me. I didn't have the background that they wanted. And that's when I finally wised up and said, I might be doing this for a lot longer than I thought I was, so maybe I better take it seriously. And it's amazing how my production went up immediately once I started taking my profession seriously. So I would say one of the biggest things you can do is in life is really be in alignment with what your actions are. And I would say for the first 12 years of my business career, I was totally out of alignment. I was just doing what was the easiest thing to get through life and make some money, and I just didn't really care. And when that shift came, that's when everything started to shift financially for me.
So, in the industry that we're in, 90% of realtors fail in the first 3 years. I know you didn't start taking it serious until you're in this till you're 12, but you still weren't one of the statistics that dropped out in the first 3 years.
I have
some success. So, what were some of the things that you were doing to ensure that you weren't a statistic? Because we do have such a large failure rate in this industry. I mean, what were some of those things that you did to gain that immediate success?
I can't say it was intentional. I can't say anything was. I didn't really get intentional with my career until 12 years down the road. So the beginning, it was just like, who did I know socially? Did they, people generally enjoy being in my company. I come across as a really confident guy. And those things are helpful. If people like you, you can connect to them. You have some smarts to you, you're going to get people to work with you. And I can't say that I did anything more than that. So I'm not a good role model for the beginning part of my career.
So then 12 years into it, you decide to take it serious. You get really intentional. Yeah. What were some of the biggest shifts and focuses at that point that had the biggest impact?
I would say I started going to conferences and being coached and going to seminars and spending a lot of time learning what other brokers were doing successfully in the nation. So today, that would be somebody listening to your podcast, Josh. That is a way to step up your game. And, people in New York, myself included, often have this idea that, we're better than everybody else, that we don't need to learn from somebody in Des Moines. But the fact of the matter is there's some amazing real estate brokers in Des Moines. And all you have to do is just listen to what they have to say. It may not work in New York City, but if you just tweak it a little, you can make it work for you. And so I would say being curious about what other people have done, and then how can I bring that to my marketplace, has been one of the biggest steps. And then the other step that I think is really important is personal development. I have a really strong belief that as I become a better real estate broker, I also become a better human being. And conversely, as I become a better human being, I also become a better real estate broker. And for me, everything is intentional. It's moving in the direction that I want my life and my business to move in.
Yep, love it. So what does your self-development look like at this point? I mean, how something that you obviously take very seriously. I mean, what does that look like on a daily or a weekly basis for you?
It varies over the years. So at the beginning, it was about being coached by a life/business coach. I used to go to Dr. Fred Gross for 7 years, and that really opened a lot of doors. And then from there, I started studying with a spiritual teacher by the name of Brew Joy, who's an amazing man who passed away a couple of years ago. And then I started going to seminars on intuition and doing work with shamans, and studying all world religions, just so that I could have this sort of paradigm shift about what possibility was. Because from my perspective, when you're locked into one belief system, possibility is often limited. And I want to go, one of the reasons I love to travel so much, and I've been to, I think, 72 countries now. And one of the things, the reason I do it is because I just see greater possibility when I'm experiencing other people's cultures and lifestyles.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So when you're going searching out all these different mentors and different coaches, because most real estate agents, they go out there and hire the Mike Ferries or the Brian Feeney, whatever it may be.
Right, right.
Did you have a mentor or somebody that kind of pushed you into that direction to say, hey, no, you need to be studying these other cultures that have really nothing to do with real estate, and that will help you expand your real estate? Or was that just kind of your own personal intuition? You thought it would be a great idea to go that route?
I think it was a combination of the two. First, Dr. Fred Gross would hold seminars throughout the world. I went to a seminar with him in Tuscany. I went to one in Bali. I went to one with him in New Zealand. So he was very much a proponent of being a global individual and world traveler. And then, if you got the bug, you got the bug. So now, there was also one point in my travel life where I had been to Paris and London like maybe 6 or 7 times in a row, and all of a sudden I thought, there's a real world out there beyond Paris and London, and maybe I want to explore that, and let's see what doors open up. So now some of my favorite trips and some of my favorite experiences were spending the Christian Christmas in Ethiopia, which is January 7th, by the way. And the Ethiopian Christian Church is the oldest existing Christian church in the world. And, they do a celebration in Lalibela that's out all night. So, it would last for 24 hours in the outskirts of Lalibela. And after about 1 a.m. in the morning, I was the only Westerner still there. And to feel so loved and appreciated and embraced, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And life in Ethiopia is not, it's not first class hotels. It's not. It's a much different experience. And I know things that other people don't know because I'm doing that. And if I would like to say to you and to your listeners, Josh, being curious is one of the greatest gifts you can ever give yourself and your family and your friends. Just be curious, get out of judgment, and be curious.
Yep, amazing, love it. So, all right, so you're 12 years in the business. You start getting intentional. You start implementing, studying other top real estate agents, and implementing into your business. Because I know today you have a large team. At what point did you start growing your team inside your career?
Again, I can't say it was intentional. There was my career's gone in a really nice path, and the beginning of it wasn't intentional. I had gotten to the point where I was showing a property and I couldn't remember the word for kitchen. I was in the kitchen and couldn't remember the word, and this is the kitchen. And I just blanked, and I knew that meant there was a part of me that didn't want to be showing a property. It just didn't want to do it. And that's why I was blanking out. So I knew I needed to hire somebody to do showings for me. And that was my first hire. Generally, I'd say your first hire should be an admin person, but I did it a different way. And then I had them combine the two levels and learned a lot of lessons about good hires and bad hires. By the way, if you do want to build a team and grow your business, to me, the Bible in real estate and the best book I've ever read is the $1 Million Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. It really teaches you all the steps on how to grow a team to your first hire to actually selling your business.
Yeah. So what does your team look like today?
We are down to 6 people in the city and 1 VA in the Philippines. So I have 2 licensed. Everybody on my team is licensed in New York, but 2 people that earn their money being an agent, working with both buyers and sellers. So like a lot of teams, they'll have buyers agents and listing partners. I don't like it that way, and I don't know that model works in a luxury market. I believe that you want to bring on people that feel confident in doing both levels and not just want to be stuck in the buyer assistant level, and that's my personal. I want somebody who wants more out of life on my team. and again, I understand that model works great in a lot of markets. I'm not sure it's as good in a luxury market. And then I have another license assistant who she handles all of our rentals, because in New York we have a lot of rentals and we have clients, we want to take care of them with their rentals. But she will also work on my listings when I'm not available to show the really luxury properties. And that frees me up to travel and to come to my house upstate where I am right now. And then we have 3 admin, and I'm very heavily admin, and I'm seeing a trend across the board that top producers are becoming higher and higher stocked with admin on their team, and then one inside sales associate in the Philippines.
Awesome, love it. So, what's your personal involvement look like today? I mean, are you still actively selling within the team?
Yes. So my primary involvement is Rainmaker, generating leads, handing the leads out. If I've learned though that for my luxury listings, those properties at 5 million and above, it's in everybody's best interest if I show them and not a team member. It also increases my profitability substantially when I'm not giving a commissioned agent a cut on really high-end property. So I set 2 intentions this year, Josh. One was to get my team more in alignment with my beliefs. I had a couple people on the team that are just amazing, wonderful people, and I love them, but wasn't a total fit on the team. And so we've gone into separate directions, and we have great relationships, and I'm very supportive, and they're really wonderful people. That was one of the directions. So that was been a big change. And the other change was to increase my average sales price this year. And we've gone from a 1.4 million average sales price to well over 2 million. And right now we have a listing for 25 million. We have a listing for 15 million. We have a listing for 6 million. That's all just happened this year. And one of the main reasons I wanted to do that is because it increases my profitability outrageously. It's probably the best way of increasing profitability is increasing your average sales price.
Yeah, and I'm not in the luxury market myself, but there's probably not a whole heck of a lot more work that goes into the $10 million listing compared to the $2 million listing, right? Same amount of time.
Same amount of time, sometimes even less because there's not that many $10 million buyers out there. So you don't even have to show the property as much, simply because there's not as many people that can afford to buy them. And sometimes that first time buyer who's buying that $100,000 home, well, we don't have them. First time buyers buying a $300,000 studio in New York City, can sometimes be the biggest pain in the butt.
Yep, absolutely. And I hate the word failure, because it's never failures. They end up becoming our best learning experience, our best growth moments. But as you've been growing this company, and not just your team, but over your whole real estate career, what do you feel were some of those top learning moments for you that now become your greatest assets that help define you to who you are today?
That's a good question. I like that question, Josh. And I agree with you. I believe that the finest way to learn is to fail. Because it's going to get your attention. Yeah. It's going to really get your attention, and you don't want to pull that one off again. And in fact, on our team, I'll say the first time you fail on our team, I'll say congratulations. Tell me what you learned. I'm so happy you learned that. Let's go from there. The second time you fail on the same subject matter, I'll say, okay, what happened? You didn't you didn't learn from the fast failure. What happened that you didn't make the connection here? And on the third time they fail on the same subject, they're probably leaving the team because they're not the type of person that's fitting into our structure. So I'm a big fan of failure up to a point. Go ahead. Do you want me to answer some things that I failed on?
Yeah. Sorry.
I failed on a lot of things. I failed on initially and learning great things from it, from hiring the wrong people. I failed because I would hire people that I like, and a really good team leader hires people that matches what he or she is lacking. So I'm really great on big picture. I'm great on concept. I'm great on vision. Detail, I'm going to get a little bored with details. So I need people that are very detailed oriented, that will hold me accountable on those levels, or at least deliver them in a way that is helpful for our clientele. And the fact that I like people in general that are not detail oriented means I would hire other people like me, and that's not a recipe for success. The other big lesson that I've learned is that it's you're more successful giving than you are taking. So there was a long period in my career, especially those first 12 years, where I was really much more interested in, what can you do for me? What's the least amount of work I have to do to make everybody happy here and still come out looking like a good guy? And at some point, I could feel the lack of integrity in that. And then during the personal development, realizing, God, that's not the person I want to be. And it's not acceptable. I would never do that in my personal life. So why am I doing it in my business life? And once I understood that, and then have made the shift, and it wasn't an automatic shift. It took some while. It took a lot of learning. Now I find I actually enjoy doing things for other people. It brings me real pleasure. That's the selfish part of it. It brings me real pleasure, but then I get referred so much more than I ever would have been referred, because they know that I care about them and that I want to take care of them. So, at the very top, I think people who are givers get a lot more back. I think the middle rung people, you can be a successful taker in the middle rung, but to get to really top, I think you generally have to be a giver.
So what keeps you going? I always say good's the worst enemy to greatness, and it's so easy to get caught up in this whole good enough, get comfortable, start making some good money, and things are just good enough, kind of start taking the foot off the accelerator. What do you do personally to make sure that you don't get comfortable and that you keep going for expansion, going for growth, and achieving that greatness?
That's a complicated question on so many levels, because one of the reasons, first of all, I totally get where you're coming from. And secondly, there's this part of me that wants to stop buying into that. There's this part of me that knows the reason that I have, and I think most successful people are, is that they're feeling some sort of void in themselves, for me, it's been feeling less than. And nobody would ever think that I'm a person that feels less than, because I'm so confident and it comes across that way. But the fact of the matter is I think really successful people have holes in themselves that they're trying to fill by doing more, being more, accomplishing more. I believe that deeply. And it certainly is the case with myself. And I've gotten to the point where when is enough? When is good enough good enough? And aren't I good enough already? But how can I still stay alive and active and involved and not trying to fill some void in my life? And I would have to say that I don't have the answer for that. That I'm working through that now, and I'm curious to see where it's going to take me. But I know that things that get me going again is like if I'm around people who inspire me. So if I go to a conference when I'm not like really into work lately, and I'll go to a conference, I'll come back zoomed and ready to pitch in again. So I think the question becomes, for each individual, what inspires you to get you moving? What nourishes you to get you moving, if that's what you so want to do? And then focus on that. I'm also 60 years old, so I'm wondering if what are you, 30, 35? What are you, Josh?
34.
There you go. You're 34. So, your drive to build wealth at 34 is a little different than your drive to build wealth at 60, probably. Yeah. If I'm being honest with myself, and as much as that was painful to say, I'm being honest.
So when you got into real estate, we all have this perception, or this, what it's going to be like. What do you feel has maybe been the most challenging part about creating success in real estate that you never would have really fathomed that would have been a challenge?
What were my biggest challenges? I would say getting out of my own way. So, I would hear people talk about, making a call and using a script, and that would just turn me off so bad. I would just say, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to do that. Well, I was limiting myself by what I could potentially do. And maybe it was just the word script that just didn't work for me. But there's something really valuable about scripts, is that you learn how to answer questions or objections with certain rote sentences or phrases that you believe in. So a script doesn't have to be false. It can be you speaking your truth, but it's just something that you've got down and you can respond to somebody in a way that they can hear you. So learning that things like systems and scripts are actually in my client's best interest, in addition to being in my best interest, was not an easy thing for me, because I'm more of an intuitive, pull it out of my butt, so to speak. Yeah, that would probably be the biggest thing, is getting out of my own way, getting out of my limiting thoughts.
Yep. Awesome. So then, I know today you're also in the coaching space and speaking space. You put on some seminars. What led you to that path in this industry?
God knows. You know how a lot of people have these really intentional paths. I can't say that I do. What I do is that I follow my heart, and for me, that's the best way to move forward. And we did a conference in Seattle. We had 365 top agents in September in Seattle, and it was a really big success. And it was great. And people say, "Why are you doing this, Patrick?" Because I'm not doing it for the money. Why are you doing it? And I still can't answer that question, but I know in my heart that it's the right thing to do, and that's a good enough answer for me. So, there's all types of people out there. So if you're like a real goal-oriented guy, then set yourself lots of goals. If you're an intentional person like that, then point yourself in a certain direction going down a road and set your intentions.
Yep. Love it. Love it. So how do, just so I don't forget, how do people learn more about me? If you have upcoming conferences coming on, people want to be in that room with the 350 top producing agents with you, where do they learn, what do our listeners learn more about you and maybe those events that you have going on?
So my umbrella website is patricklilly.com, Lilly, patricklilly.com. So that's where you can get to me about real estate, about conferences, about speaking. You can look at pictures of my house upstate. That's where it's the overall gist, and where my blog is. You can, if you're interested in our conferences, go to realestatesuccess.rocks. It's called Real Estate Success Rocks, but the website is realestatesuccess.rocks instead of .com. And if you're interested in our real estate, go to patricklillyteam.com.
Yeah, love it, love it.
Is that enough of them?
Yep, no, that's perfect. And we'll make sure for the listeners, if you guys are listening, watching, that those links are right in the show notes, so you can click on them live and go check them out right away. So, all right, do you have any? And I know I always hate when I get asked this question because it's so difficult to really narrow it down. But do you have maybe a couple top books, business books, let's just say, that have really impacted your business the most, that you would recommend to the listener base out there?
Oh God, yeah, that's not a hard one. That's an easy one.
Well, see, for me, it's always like I got like 20, not the top two.
Well, I do. You're right. It's harder to narrow it down to just a couple. Yeah, obviously, I said it before. The $1 Million Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller is the #1 book to read by all means. I would put that at the top of my list. And then what do I put after that? Now I feel like I'm on the spot. I am actually more interested I would say, for me, God, I can always mispronounce his name.
Kiyosaki?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. All the Rich Dad, Poor Dads?
Yes, was a real eye-opener for me. So I would say that's key. It's a simple book, but I even like Daniel Ramsey's book on whatever it's called. I'm great at titles. I'm really a great.
Right, EntreLeadership?
No. The one where he talks about no debt in it.
Okay.
Geez, I've only recommended it to 30,000 people, and I can't remember the name of it right now. And then I would say after that is my favorite book right now is reading quotes by Rumi. That moves me immensely and helps to get me. I use that for inspirational reading each morning, and it helps to get me into a space. And in fact, I'm going to create you're the first person to hear this. I'm going to create a Facebook group that will start January 1st, where we'll have daily readings of Rumi just to start your day, and anybody in any industry is welcome to participate.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Absolutely. Um, so, do you have, I find a lot of successful people have kind of a daily routine that they follow. There's some
Yeah.
consistency to their daily routine. What does that look like for you? Do you have anything that you
Yes.
feel attributes to your success?
First, a morning ritual, and a morning ritual is we just talked about this on my podcast, which is part of Real Estate Success Rocks. By the way, I interviewed Darren Kittleson on this, and in a morning ritual, I think it's really important that you are doing something for your body, your mind, and your soul. And for me, that means some form of exercise. That means some form of inspirational reading. And right now, that's Rumi for me. And then some form of meditation to calm my mind, because my mind can just go haywire. And that's a perfect morning for me. And it sets up the day for success, however you want to define success, but it sets up the day perfectly for me for success. And then and I would highly recommend it. Now, do I do that every day? No. And am I great about doing it every day? No. But I do it more often than not, and the amount of time that I'm doing increases every month, and that's the correction. Am I going in the right direction? The second thing is then after that, and I try to get up around 6 o'clock to do that, because that's when the times are really quiet, and I can pull that off. And then lead generation is the next thing. Is what can I do to reach out to my circle of influence and see what I can do to generate any leads. So that should be done for about the next hour. And then for the rest of the day is, just doing, being reactive to whatever real estate is throwing my way. And that's, while it's necessary, it's probably the least productive. And then at least 1 to 2 hours a week, I want to work on my business, not in my business. And that means for me, it's usually when I'm driving upstate and thinking about possibilities about where I want to take my business and how I can do that, which is harder to do when you're being reactive to when, the other attorney calls is yelling at you because something didn't happen. So taking that quiet time, I'd say, is important every week also.
Yep, love it, love it. So, in the real estate business, and I'm sure this is true for all entrepreneurs in any line of entrepreneurship, but it really becomes a lifestyle, not a job, and it's so easy to let it consume our lives where we don't have that balance. But you've also been able to squeeze in a ton of travel, and so I mean, have you done some things? I really don't like the word balance. I don't know if it really exists, but I mean, what have you been able to figure out some ways that you don't allow it just to consume every waking second of your life?
Yeah, and the more advanced we get technology, the more it can consume you. So some of the things that I have learned for me that work for me is when I'm out to dinner with a friend, I put the phone away and ask permission, may I look at it? When there are certain times of the day I will just not check emails. I would say that's my biggest drainer is that sort of thing. And then I make sure that I have a team that's set up that can handle business when I'm away, so that I can take 3 2-week trips every year, because that's really important to me. That nourishes my soul. It makes me happy. It provides opportunities for me to see new possibilities. And I always think better when I'm out in New York City than when I'm home. I don't know why. I imagine if I lived in Phoenix, I would feel the same way. That when I would leave Phoenix, it's just easier for me to see the big picture.
Yep, love it. All right, so let's say something happens, right? And you financially get wiped out, and you've got little to no resources, but you've retained all the knowledge that you've learned through all these years of entrepreneurship, selling real estate. So you've retained all your knowledge, but again, you have little to no resources. Your health's good, family's good, all that's good. But you're having to start from scratch. What are the first few things you go out there and immediately start doing to rebuild this empire that you built?
Oh, that's easy. Number one is to create a database And number two is to reach out to that database every single day. There's nothing more cost effective than picking up the phone or sending out an email, but I'd say the phone's more cost effective. The only thing that's being spent is your time. That's the only cost is your time. I think people have so much fear around picking up the phone, and I finally figured out for myself that fear of rejection was based on me thinking that I was less than and believing that at some part of myself. And then finally, when I got straight, like, this is ridiculous. At what point, Patrick, are you going to really believe that you're worthy of being lovable? And that when are you really going to start loving yourself and not care what other people think? That's when those phone calls became very easy. So it's not that I don't care what they think. Let me rephrase that. It's not that I don't care, but I'm less caught up if it upsets them versus it doesn't upset them. Because if I'm solid within myself and I know that what I'm offering them is of real value and that I have something to bring to the table for them, if they get upset with me when I reach out to them, that's their stuff. That's not mine. And by giving them the power that they could upset my day, that was coming from not being solid about myself and not thinking that I'm worthy. So pick up the phone, make a database, pick up the phone. Yep. And if they don't have phones anymore in this new world you're creating, then get out and knock on doors.
Yeah. Nothing beats that face-to-face kind of in-your-face prospecting. It's the cornerstone of it. So love it. All right, so I created this podcast probably for the same reason that you created your podcast, right? To give back to an industry that's really had such a positive impact on our lives. And we look at a lot of the coaches and consultants that are in this industry, and not saying that it's bad, but a lot of them have never done it. And so I was really passionate about going out there and creating a platform where I could go out there and interview the doers like yourself, people that are out there doing it big, making it big, so our listener base can hear it directly from you, get that tactical knowledge, but also get that inspiration and motivation to go out there and create this epic life like you've created. What is maybe some last words of motivation, inspiration that you'd like to leave our listeners with to encourage them to go out there and create that greatness just like you've created in your life?
I think it all comes from being clear about why you're doing what you're doing. So what's your purpose in life? And then associating all of your activities with that so that you can be successful. So I'm really clear about what's important to me. And whatever I take on a new activity, it's to promote that. And it makes the work easier to accomplish because I'm associating the activity with the big why. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, no, powerful. Love it. So in our listener base, I know we end every single podcast with this, but information without implementation is the start of delusion, right? Information is not power. It's taking that information, taking action on it, executing on it, that creates power in your world. So you guys just heard from one of the top luxury real estate agents on the planet today. So take something that you've learned, take some of these nuggets that was shared with us today, implement in your business so you can go out there and create that same epic life and business that you want and you deserve. And Patrick, man, this has been a massive honor. I've been a huge fan of yours for a lot of years, and it's been an awesome time, an awesome honor having you on the show, my friend.
Well, first of all, you're not old enough to be a fan of mine for that many years. But for the short time you've been on this earth, I'll take that as a compliment. And Josh, thank you for having me on. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it.